Hi, you guys. Welcome to my channel. My name's Christina, and this is Time for Truth. So I was going through some old papers, as you all know, and I found this article. It's actually the Ann Landers column from 1998 out of the Des Moines Register. And, you know, I've been posting a lot of videos about the geese in our area, at which I love watching them. I just think they're awesome. And so guess what this article is about? It's about geese. I'm going to put it up here so that you can pause the screen to read it at your leisure. So however you want to pause the screen if you have an interest. And I'll just talk briefly about it. It talks about that we all need to fly in formation and help each other out. And geese demonstrate that by flying in a V formation. If a goose falls out of formation, it feels the drag and quickly gets back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power. Then another fact is the lead goose gets tired, it rotates back, and that geese instinctively share the task of leadership and do not resent the leader because there's fairness, not power plays. The geese in formation honk from behind to encourage those up front to keep up their speed. So it's a little like passive-aggressive, honk, honk. We need to make sure our honking from behind is encouraging and not something else. It's an excellent article. And as I was saying before, I love the newspapers. I love reading the newspapers, and I haven't been doing that because of the internet, but I still read a lot. So this article was out of the Des Moines Register, Saturday, August 1st, 1998. And I was living in Des Moines then, outside of Des Moines. Built a house on 5 acres in the middle of a cornfield. Yeah, that was interesting. I'll be talking more about that whole experience. But I also found this little gem. I think that's so perfect. Only one who attempts the absurd can achieve the impossible. And that's a fact. So we should all keep trying the best that we can on a daily basis for, you know, the pursuit of happiness. That's our right. And it's also a great passion of mine is to, you know, achieve the level of happiness. And the only way we know the level of happiness is by knowing sadness. So there's that little gem. And then what else did I want to talk about today? I uploaded a video earlier this morning about my lymphedema machine because after double mastectomy and lymph node dissection, where they remove your lymph nodes to check for spread of cancer, I was very fortunate. There was no spread. They do one check of the lymph nodes when they do the double mastectomy procedure. And if there are indicators that the cancer has spread in what they call the sentinel lymph nodes that are removed along with the breasts, then that will lead into the next surgery recommended, which is the lymph node dissection. And interestingly enough, I will tell you, there are no breast surgeons available in the state of Delaware in my area. It was really bad. Between the 3 healthcare systems, one of which I won't go to because it's that bad, the other one had 0 breast cancer surgeons, 0. So then I was thrown up to a larger one up in Newark, Delaware, Christiana Care. And the experiences there were interesting. I'll be talking about that in later episodes. But for today, I'm talking about the machine, the lymphatic machine. And so after the surgery, where luckily for the lymph node dissection, my surgeon described it to me as, we're going to take out the bagel and then the pathologists will pick out it's a blueberry bagel. We'll pick out the blueberries to know if, and then test those for the cancer. So all of my blueberries came back clear. So I didn't have to do radiation or any of the other treatments because I did a radical move to remove the cancer from my body. So, but that has left me now with a chronic condition called lymphedema. And lymphedema is something that happens because your lymph nodes are gone. So your body can no longer move this lymphatic fluid. It's basically a filtration system of your inner workings of your body. All of us have them, all of us use them, and we need them. So when there are those missing, then the body has to compensate for that somehow. And it gets trapped. There's like trapped fluid that happens, feels like a bungee cord around my midsection. And then random shooting pains and spiking pains and then throbbing pain. I mean, it's just the whole thing. So I've dealt with chronic pain before, but this is a whole new addition to the existing chronic pain from mastoid issues and lupus, skin lupus. Look that up. So, yeah, you know, I'm afflicted. When my older brother called me that, I don't know, when I was in 8th grade or something, you're afflicted. Yeah, he was right. And it's been a lifelong challenge because I look fine. Nobody would think, gosh, you know, she's missing her breasts, lymph nodes, ears in her bones in her ears. I have no eardrum. All that was taken out. Random high-pitched sounds from the universe. It's interesting. I mean, health challenges can be very interesting because you just have to continue on. You know, what's the alternative? 6 feet under. So, still taking a breath? Better still be just kicking it. How about that train mug? Check that out, you guys. Is that awesome? I haven't found the train photos yet, but I will. I'm on it today. So there's that. Isn't that awesome? Today we'll be drinking Fresca. Straight up. No grenadine today. Oh, and guess what I found? Remember on my other episode I was talking about that fantastic perfume, the 3 bottles that I found at the senior center? This is it. Look at that. Is that amazing? The packaging on that. Yeah, I have to put my glasses on to see what it says. I'm going to try and pronounce this. Myrugia. Myrurgia. Barcelona, Spain. I've been there. Went out on a cruise of the Mediterranean for 14 days. Straight out of Barcelona. Almost didn't make it because there was a huge snowstorm in Pennsylvania. We were supposed to leave out of somewhere else and ended up not being able to because of this massive snowstorm. I think that was in 2010. At any rate, flew straight out to Barcelona and caught the cruise ship from there and went on that Mediterranean cruise, which was amazing. Went to the Giza Plateau, rode on a camel out to the pyramids. Fascinating. All right, so then look, here is the packaging on this. It's got this like kind of grooved to keep everything safe. Now the 2 bottles, well, I had 3 bottles. This one had a broken cap already, so I didn't even put that one up for sale. I figured I'll just keep this one, especially when I saw how fast these things sold. But look at the packaging on that. Is that fantastic? Okay, I'm going to give you guys the scent. I'm going to try and describe it. Okay, just catching a whiff of it is like you just want to follow that smell. Oh, it's captivating, truly. It's got, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't have the words. It's truly delightful. It reminds me of the belly dancer that riding for dinner on the Nile River. And there was a belly dancer who was amazing. Okay, so there's a little, oh, and this is how the packaging goes. Original packaging too. The senior center was asking 25 cents for each of the bottles. So yeah, I gave them more as a donation. So back to the lymph nodes. Yes, I do go off on tangents. Ask my husband, he knows. It's always a wonder when I can just like carry on with whatever. I always manage to get everything done, though. It's just haphazard. I'm sure I would have been totally medicated back in the day if I were in this era. ADHD, I don't even know. Like, just bouncing off the walls. And what's hilarious is that I see other people who are like me, you know, bouncing off the walls. If you spot it, you got it, you know, that kind of thing. It's hilarious. I'm like, they're my people. So who were not my people was Tactile Medical. Now I'm going to talk about them. Tactile Medical is out of Minnesota. Probably affiliated with the Pritzker family. Yeah, the Pritzkers. Look them up. They're trying to influence society, claiming that men can be women. And they have a huge medical supply company that they're the Pritzkers. Just look them up. Anyways, so I already have like a bias against anything coming out of that area. But I was working with the people here locally, going to PT after the lymph node dissection. And months into that, it's like, okay, so now this is a chronic condition. I'm going to have to figure out how to deal with it. So then they suggest, you know, a lymphedema home use machine. And I say, hey, let's do that. So the girl comes and she takes the measurements of my arms and around my chest and this and that and tells me, you know, oh, you're going to need this and that and this. And then once that gets ordered and shipped, then we'll come here and we'll do the home demo. I'm like, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. You know, I treat all these people with, you know, the utmost respect. Thank them for all the time that they've spent learning their trade so that they're able to help me. So off she goes. And then I'm waiting. I'm talking with the lymphedema ladies because I'm seeing them twice a week for this condition. And they're like, oh, yeah, you know, yeah, that should be soon. Then finally one of them says to me, well, you know, if you're that concerned about it, because it's been weeks, and I have good insurance, I've not had insurance in the past, so I expect that when I have insurance that things are going to get done without me having to chase down the people. But no, I still have to chase them down. So Tactile Medical, she says, the lymphedema lady says, well, just call them. See what's happening. Well, they hadn't even submitted it because they're waiting on a prior authorization. And my insurance doesn't require a prior authorization. So there's a wasting time, nothing's happening. I'm paying, having to drive every, you know, to these appointments, pay my copay, you know, spend an hour and a half there between the waiting room and the whole other shebang. Funny story about that. I go in this place. It's a big Aquacare, that's what it's called. And they do physical therapy and all that. And in the waiting room, they have all these chairs that are like taped, like with duct tape for people to sit on, like on the actual cushion of the chair. All of the chairs are like ratty. And I'm thinking, why would they do that to people? And why isn't anybody saying anything to them about that? Because I go to all the thrift stores. There are plenty of chairs out there that don't have to be duct taped. So, and I'm not kidding you when I say that it wasn't just one or two chairs. No, it was the whole shebang, which caused me to then like say, you know, somebody should get some new chairs in here. They're not that expensive. Go to the thrift store. You know what happened? I walk in one day, there's a whole suite of new furniture in there. So always speak up. It matters. You know, where I go to and who I'm paying for services, I expect the same that they expect from me. Respect, you know, transparency, you know, a good working relationship with open communications. So anyways, I'm seeing the 3 lymphedema ladies. There were 2 at that time. Then they got a 3rd one because this is a problem down here where I live. There's not a lot of providers. And when there are providers, there's a long wait time. In fact, where I had the 2 surgeries, they told me, oh, you could just come up here for the lymphedema treatment. That's a 3-hour round trip for a 1-hour appointment that they'll randomly reschedule or cancel at any time that they want. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not happening. So I found this little Aquacare place, and so I got the girl here to do the measurements. It's supposed to be ordered. Oh, it'll be here lickety split, she says. Yep, no problem at all. We'll schedule for the girl to come back and this and that and the other. And then finally get on the manager, and I'm like, hello, I don't have prior authorization. Can we get the machine, please, going? She's putting me off. This one, not returning my phone call. Like, I had to leave a review for them, Google review for them too, Tactile Medical. And so then it finally gets ordered, and then it arrives, and then the girl calls me and she goes, oh, I was just in Delaware yesterday, so I won't be down there, blah, 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 blah. And go to YouTube and look it up. That's what they told me. Go to YouTube and look up how to work that machine. And they never sent anybody. And they sent the trunk, the shorts to go with it. I asked the girls at the lymphedema place, I'm like, why are they sending the shorts? They're like, oh, we'll just use the whole thing. I'm like, okay. And then I tell them how I'm using it. I tell them I looked it up on YouTube. I'm using my Barca lounger that I got, you know, picked out for my birthday one year. You know, it's beautiful. It's comfortable. According to what I'm seeing on YouTube, I'm in the position I should be in. And then I come up with, like, I'm using it, and it helps the upper body. My arm, you know, moves the lymphatic fluid. And then this was around, I don't know, the beginning of November. And by Thanksgiving, I'm having intense pain. Walking bent over. Can't stand up. Have to lift my leg in order to put on my clothes and shoes. My poor husband's looking at me like, what's up now? You know, because we're thinking, the way I do it is I'm like, okay, I've been through so much, I can get through this. Like, this must just be like a little thing. Oh, it was a little thing, all right. So at any rate, I dealt with it until the 4th of December with the pain not getting worse, not getting better, getting worse. And by December 4th, I was at the ER. Shout out to the guys and female doctor at the ER by us. It's just recently opened. It's with the healthcare system that I use, that is the one not 3 hours away, in a more local town, and they're opening up more facilities down here, which is desperately needed. So yeah, I ended up at the ER, and that's a whole other story that I'm going to tell. Like, just because it was so good, I couldn't believe that how they listened to me. The two men, Jeremy and Adam, those were their names, superheroes. My husband's with me because he's always at my doctor's appointments now because it's so crazy. And they're, you know, I tell them about my small veins, this and that. You know, I'm sorry, you know, that's just what other medical personnel has told me to tell other medical personnel so that you can do your job the best way possible. And Adam and Jeremy are like, we'll be right back. We're going to go get this, whatever it was. And they're talking to me the whole time, telling me what they're doing. They come back in with this, and I don't watch. I'm just watching my husband because I can gauge from his face if something's happening, other than pain or inflicted on me or something other. Didn't feel a thing. They use some little thing that you put onto the vein, and it allows them to actually see enlarged, because the other guy was reading it off the screen, like a sonogram or something like that. I don't even know. But there was no bruising, no anything. So anyways, shout out to Jeremy and Adam and the female doctor on staff. And you know what I did? When things are good, like, I'm the first one to be in line to say, wow, this was like an awesome experience, even though I was in the ER, and I'd like to give, you know, commendation. Just my experience, because it's been so bad. So I send off a letter to patient relations at this hospital system. And I think, you know, I'm never going to hear from them. I never hear from them when there's a complaint. So I, you know, sent this email naming these people by name, describing what they had done, describing, you know, what the outcome was of my medical condition, so that I could also give them constructive criticism that, yes, maybe I should have been sent up for the MRI right then and not discharged to my primary care to wait for an MRI for a herniated disc that was causing me extreme pain and other issues that were readily apparent in the ER on the gurney. So somebody had to clean up. So anyways, I gave them that piece of constructive criticism in an appropriate way, using nice words. And you know what? I'm telling you, it wasn't 6 minutes and my phone rang. And you know who was on the other end of the line? Patient relations. The nicest lady. She thanked me profusely for sending that, for naming the names, for describing the situation, for providing more information on what the underlying issue was. And like, I felt like I actually made an inside connection to my healthcare system by doing that. Whereas my also valid criticisms just completely I mean, I'll tell you the story about what happened with that, with security being called after patient relations said that they'd meet my husband and I in the lobby. No, they sent security and a man named Mark to tell us to leave. I just had 2 cancer surgeries at that hospital. So I'll be talking about that too. I'll be naming names as far as that patient relations go. So, you know what I guess the point of all of this is my goodness, when we're sick, it's hard to advocate for ourselves, truly. But we have to. Somehow we have to. However we can, in whatever way we can, we have to, you know, fly alone or fly together. Sometimes you have to take the lead and lead your own self into better healthcare, you know, a better environment for wellness. And that machine over there, I've been terrified to use it again after, you know, the horror that I went through after using it, which, connecting the dots, there was nothing else that I had done that would have caused a herniated disc, which I've never had before, other than using that machine. And Tactile Medical, they assigned some caseworker to it. And I told her straight up, I'm not going to try and make something what it isn't. I just said, I don't know what caused my herniated disc. All I can do is connect the dots on this. I'm not blaming Tactile Medical for what I'm experiencing now, but I am blaming you for not sending somebody to have me fitted with that machine and show me how to properly use it. And she was absolutely in agreement with that, because they know they should have done that, and they didn't. Why? Because I'm down here in Delaware, and people don't want to come back down to Delaware because, you know, it's not a pass-through area. You have to be down here for a reason. We're on a peninsula. Some of that is changing now with the healthcare systems understanding that there's an aging population down here. I mean, it's a gold mine, quite frankly. And if they would provide the proper healthcare providers, then there wouldn't be such suffering. In fact, my mom, when she was living down here, she was being seen by an MD affiliated with the local healthcare system, who went to the MD VIP. Just told all the patients that they had, unless you can pay this much, I think it was $1,200 a year, plus you're being sent to specialists. So if you don't have proper insurance to cover all of that, you'll be paying copays on that for the specialists, as if it's some concierge healthcare, if you can pay for it. I pulled my mom right out of there. I said, that's not what you want, Mom. In retrospect, I might have kept her there under that, but they weren't giving her good care anyways. They called me and said, oh, you know, you need to take your mom to the ER because she's here now, and you need to come and get her. And so I went there and I said, can you tell me what was she saying, or what was happening, or what has caused you to make me think that I need to take her to the ER? We're just telling you that you need to take your mother to the ER. Like it's a big secret. So of course I took my mother to the ER, where they found nothing wrong with her. Just bizarre things that were happening down here. So still happening too with Tactile Medical. And then Aquacare, you know, the lymphedema ladies, their hands are tied because all they're trying to do is help me. And it's by virtue of, you know, the outside medical provider equipment companies that then you get these people involved, and they just choose not to do their job and then sit on it. Like, I used to have an inbox, like you like move that stuff through, or you call the people, at least be in touch with people. No, that was a bridge too far for them. So it has been a lot. And at every turn, when I have, you know, sought out care for myself, wellness, it's been an injury, so it's been a bit of a scary thing along the way with the medical community. Shout out to my primary care, though, who has taken the lead and provided me with at least a referral to, these pain clinics. And then I get messages like, oh yeah, well, we don't handle chronic pain. Then what do you handle? Then what is the point? I don't even know. Back in the day when I had the 4 surgeries, mastoid surgeries, at Jefferson Hospital, they were handing out opioids like candy. Oxycontin, hydrocodone, the fentanyl patch. Oh, I was one of those. They were handing out the fentanyl patch. You take it out, it has all these warnings on it. Fentanyl. I think they had it on the back. You put it on the back. And then I found out that there were lawsuits from where those fentanyl patches were leaking and killing people. This was when I lived in Upper Darby. My mom was having her house redone. I was going through surgeries, still paying child support too, trying to hold a job, go through surgeries, being chased down for child support, still doing all my visitation with my daughter, that I could, because of course I would. It was a lot. But I don't even know, the healthcare, if you're not well, it is really incumbent on ourselves to find our own path to wellness. Because other than acupuncture, that was the only thing that saved me. I have a picture of my daughter. I took her to acupuncture appointments. She loved it. Yeah, my mom actually helped pay for the appointments for Emily when she was with me. And I have a picture where she's laying on her back. Eva, that was who did our acupuncture treatments. And she helped me come off all of those opioids that I was being prescribed by Jefferson. I was like, I can't live like this. I'm in recovery from alcohol. Like, I don't want to be on all this medication, especially fentanyl. And this was at the time when I was working up in Manhattan, drinking, venti quad extra hot mochas on top of it. So crazy times. The medical community is not your friend. Look up your conditions, understand what's going on. Don't just take pills or anything else randomly, even from your doctor. And I highly recommend medical marijuana. That's just helped me immensely for all of my afflictions, including those that I've accumulated along the way, like post-traumatic stress disorder. So I see a lot of the elderly coming into the dispensary, picking up their medical marijuana. And you don't have to smoke it. There are edibles, there's tinctures. I use the cream for the lupus that I get for my, when that's activated. So anyways, I consider today that, my afflictions are just this group of afflictions out there. This is the picture that I associate with it, which I also use for other examples of other situations, but this is perfect. There you go. That's how I consider all of my afflictions. I stare them down. I recognize that they're there. I decide what I'm going to do to take care of my own self, because that's what we're all called to do. And I found a bunch of these postcards. I will have to find the box of those. That's in that cabinet over there at the thrift store. These are actually out of the Netherlands. So they just, look at that little stamp right there on the back. A little boy hugging his dog with the suspenders. Adorable. But yeah, and then they have a caption on them of, this was the girl who can't grow up. Why can't she grow up? Because all the boys are whistling at her as she's trying to grow up. And that was exactly how it was when I was growing up. Just like that. Boys. And then, so now what I do, I got catcalled. Catcalled all my life. Construction workers, walking by the firehouse, whatever it was. You know what I do now? In my Jeep, I catcall the guys. At the construction sites. Because I'm hyper vigilant. I know what's going on. I know when there's a bunch of 7 men standing around doing nothing. So what do? Roll down the window. Woohoo! Nice boots. I'm telling on myself here. Yes, I do that. And sometimes I get the, the wave back, and sometimes they're just dumbfounded. They just can't imagine that. But I'm here to remind them. Yes, I'm here to remind myself that growing up as a young girl in the 70s, 60s, 70s, it was a lot like it is now. So stand up for yourself, women and girls. Don't let anybody decide how your life is going to be, because only you decide that. Here's one of the things that was my family, when they have a party, They put together placards and set them up. They pull out all the vintage stuff. They show everything of, like for my auntie's party, they say, what was happening back in 1919? My printer didn't do good on this. But here you go. My aunt had been born in 1919. And so the life expectancy for males was 53 years of age. For females, it was 56. The world population in 1919 was 1.9 billion. A postage stamp cost 2 cents. Toothpaste was 20 cents. A movie ticket was 10 cents. A dozen eggs cost 55 cents. A new car was 650, depending upon what car, I suppose. The average monthly rent was 92. My aunt had been born on the river shore of the Potomac, because my father's family, those 10 kids, born in that house, the old house. In fact, I had at one point purchased a picture of that old house back in the day, how it looked. Check that out. This house sat on near the Chesapeake Bay. I have family that still lives down there, St. Mary's County. Look at those old fireplaces, chimneys. Yep. I actually washed bricks on that when they rehabbed it in the 80s. I purchased this from this company. But yeah, I remember this house looking like this when I was a young kid. I went down there and spent a summer with my aunt and cousins. I was a city girl, apparently, because I didn't know anything about living on the water. Rural. Yeah. But I learned about crabs, oysters, eels. I learned. What else does this say? The first rotary dial telephone in the Bell system was installed in Norfolk, Virginia in 1919. The American Legion was formed on March 15th, 1919. In St. Mary's County, my family was responsible for the American Legion down there coming into town. It's still there. And they have a lot of events down there, because a lot of them boys from them little towns went on into the service and served this great nation. So the famous people that were born the same year as my Aunt Hattie: Jackie Robinson, Nat King Cole, Liberace, and Eva Gabor. On January 16th, the 18th Amendment to the United States Constitution authorizing prohibition was ratified. The 19th Amendment was passed on June 4th, 1919, which guaranteed women the right to vote. That's how late it was for women to be able to vote. 1919. Don't forget that, women and girls. No man is a woman. We are women. The minute that a man can claim he's a woman, women don't exist anymore. Perverted men. Absolutely, and I have personal experience with that. I'll be talking about it. That's a future episode. Perverts in their fetish, walking around in public acting like they own the joint. It won't be tolerated. No. No. Put it right back in the closet, men. Claiming that you're women. Women are female. I took a nurse to a human rights hearing over that, and I'd do it again. And I tell the doctors too. Quit buying into the lie. Humans are male or female. No man is a woman. Anyways, because I'm going to talk about this book in my next broadcast. Men in their fetish are narcissists. Men who are affirmed in their fetish become extremely dangerous individuals. I've seen it firsthand. And I'll talk about it. to a certain extent. And I'll tell you why. I'll only talk about it about a certain extent in that episode. At any rate, this little talk has been so enjoyable. I just love it after my whole machine over there and cup of coffee and sipping a Fresca. My mom loved to take black and white photos. Here's a picture. Remember I shared with you guys about Hebi and Shebi? And they were born in the bicentennial. So he bicentennial and she bicentennial. So my mom got into not only taking black and white photos, but also developing the film. She actually did that, a lot of that. She took some of the photos from Tucson, Arizona. And the news with Mrs. Nancy Guthrie is still that she's missing. It's a terrible thing. My mom was only missing for 4 or 5 days with me not knowing where she was. Oh, and I'm going to talk about that too. Because I found a note that had gone on between my siblings and I about a conversation on July 25th of 2018 when I was told, we'll have a meeting at such and such a time, Eastern Standard Time. It was for my sister, acting like she's now the colonel. So I was told, our mother is no longer at Gold Creek or in the state of Maryland. She's somewhere in the USA in an assisted living facility. She's been evaluated by a medical specialist who approved her for more independent living. New power of attorney documents have been executed, removing Carol, but no one is willing to say who now has fiduciary responsibility. They pulled all these stunts and then didn't want to cop to it. Weak. So weak. You asked for Jan's medical and financial documents and her jewelry. I told you to coordinate the movers for all her personal belongings and household goods, including a piano mover. I also said that per legal counsel, no items will be released prior to receipt of the newly prepared POA documents to ensure that Jan's belongings are under the fiduciary care and responsibility of the newly named POA for the duration, indicating that they'll only have it for so long. For the duration. Look up what that means. Words matter. I would appreciate a mailing address or an email address so I can be in touch with the POA regarding my legal revocation of the original 2007 POA. You know why? Because I wasn't going to be responsible for what they were doing. Best wishes to you all and Mom too. Tell her I love her dearly and I'm so pleased she's finally happy. Because I was only going to believe what they told me. Oh, Mom's happy. She's so happy. She's escaped your care. Look forward to hearing from Jan's new agent so we can get all this coordinated and buttoned up. Peace out, peeps. This was on January 25th, 2018. This was around the time they were trying to get a protection from abuse order against me. Oh, and let me give you something a little spicy too. One of the things that I found out around the time that my mom had been taken to Utah, when I found out where she was and I was making these complaints to the bar and all of that. You know what the bar was doing? The bar was sending out emails of topless women. The Utah State Bar. Ben Winslow. This is his article. I started following him on, at the time, Twitter. Lawyers across Utah opened their email inboxes on Monday afternoon to be greeted by an image of a topless woman. Oh, voluptuous breasts. I looked up. I found it. I found the image. I wanted to see it. I didn't print it out because I didn't find it recently and I wasn't going to completely like go for it with that. But where was the second part of that? I printed, not all the whole article printed, but here's what the executive director of the bar at the time said. John Baldwin, that's who the executive director was of the bar was at the time. We are horrified. Oh, these breasts were delightful. So, yeah, he goes on to say, we are investigating to discover how this occurred. Our goal is to find out what happened and ensure it never happens again. And he misspelled ensure. He spelled it I-N instead of ensure, E-N. On Twitter and over texts, attorneys reacted with amusement. And you know what the attorneys were saying, the male attorneys? They were circulating it. They thought that was funny. Here was this voluptuous, full-breasted woman showing up from the Utah State Bar. Now, why did the Utah State Bar send out an email to all the the entire state? Because they were advertising their spring get-together, where all the lawyers gather to do whatever they do, which clearly we have a better idea of what they might be doing. Yeah, so anyway, I wanted to share that. There's going to be so much more. I have shared so much with this channel and you all, and it just brings me incredibly, I'm just loving telling on it all. Look, at one time on Twitter, I don't know if this shows, because I don't want to show my Twitter account on here, because I'm a force to be reckoned with on Twitter, which is now X. Let me make sure it's not on here anywhere. No, but look, the Maryland State Bar blocked me on Twitter. I laugh my ass off. When I get these things, I frame them. The Maryland, why? Because Susan Seidel Tillman had caused issues, major issues in Maryland, and I was making complaints about them publicly on what was what was Twitter back then, and is now X. So yeah, I have a lot more things all to talk about, but I'm not going to take up too much more time. I'm at my 41-minute limit for today. I'm going to make shorter videos too, because those just upload so quickly. These 40-minute ones, they take forever to upload, and then I'm wondering if it's going to go wonky and not, and sometimes that happens. And then I just laugh about that too and re-upload it. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of all this. Thanks for letting me, like, you know, just like chat about whatever comes to mind. And that's it for today. Although I might be back later today, because I've already printed out some things that I can't wait to share. Some of those are those old placards from the parties, and more pictures of the boat. Oh, you know what the boat's called? Happy Hours. Spelled Happy Hours. I found the boat, another picture of the boat. Yeah, that my father was cutting checks for all the time. Got a brand new Garmin suite. Yeah, having the wood redone. I presume this is the same boat. Looks like it from the pictures that I've seen. That I shared with this channel previously. Because I was checking to see what everybody else was doing while I was being put through a living hell. And birds of a feather fly or fall together. Yep. All right, that's it. Let me find the little thing to power off this. Y'all are great. Thanks for listening. Catch you later. Ciao.